Welcome, everybody. Joe Tarnowski with ECRM here, and I have with me today Taylor Sargent, a buyer with Stephensons Online, who's been a participant in a ton of ECRM Euro sessions, both in person and virtual. So today we're going to talk about his company, how it's been impacted by COVID, and his experience with the ECRM Connect platform. So Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. And to start, can you give us an overview of Stephensons Online and the services that you provide with the brands that you work with?
I can. Nice to be with you, Joe. Good to see you, buddy. So we are a partner of over 120 brands right now, and we're hitting up to 150 by the end of this calendar year. And we work with brands that are either, from startups in kitchens to multinational companies doing, millions of dollars online. So our business started with our managing director whose grandmother died, and his partner decided that they would throw all their stuff on eBay instead of throwing it away. And it's grown from that with no loans, no investments, from literally a £10 note into a $10 million business this year, with a plan. We have loads of plans to turn 100 million, billion, whatever it might be, and that is all based around the brands we bring on and the brands we're working with. So our primary focus is third-party platforms such as eBay. The big one that everyone talks about is obviously Amazon, and I think every brand wants to cover the whole Amazon piece across the globe, but it's very difficult to do it. It's labor intensive, and brands look for people like us that will partner with them and not be, an agency or a client of theirs. It's about, our whole model is about being a partner of the brand and being an extension of their office to deliver their strategy for third-party platforms such as Amazon. So instead of taking a commission of sales or doing it down that route, we buy the products of all our brands. So we act as a distributor model. We sell like a retailer because we sell to the end consumer, but we are ultimately a partner because we are working directly with the brands to deliver that strategy online. And we have a workforce of about 42, I think, now here, doing all different jobs inside that process, and everyone has their different set thing that they're doing within the Amazon piece, the eBay piece, and other third-party platforms as well, that we are growing, every week, every month, every year that we're going. So that's us in a nutshell.
Gotcha. So let's say I'm a brand that you take on, right? Walk us through how you work with them and how you implement your different services to kind of optimize what they're, how they're selling on Amazon and eBay. So a fictional brand.
Yeah, sure. So if you're a brand that, let's just say that you were already doing Amazon, and you were doing it yourself, and you were doing Seller Central instead of vendor, so that means you're selling direct to the consumer through your account as opposed to selling it direct to Amazon, right? We would get signed with obviously the contract piece, and we sign the brand, and then it takes around 8 weeks from the moment you sign to being live across the world. And the important thing, and I guess that one of the attractive things about us is that we have every Amazon platform in the world. So if you're a US brand, for example, Joe, for the most part, you're going to be live in Amazon.com, Canada, and probably Mexico, because they all kind of come as one. You may be live in Europe, but you probably won't be live in all of Europe, because of VAT and different things that Amazon have brought in over the last year to make it more difficult for external, people doing Amazon. We have the UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, the Netherlands, Sweden, the USA, Canada, Mexico, Australia, Japan, Singapore, the UAE, and that's growing. So we have all of those, and you can go live. Literally, if you're a brand doing your first ECRM and it's your first show, and you're in like 2 countries, for example, or 3 countries, you can go live in 14 countries at the click of a button with us. So that's a good way it's a good way to get into countries, but it's also a good way to gauge your products in those territories if you're looking for a retailer or a distributor there, because if you're from America and you've never done business in Singapore, and Amazon's a good way to get a taste of what your brand can achieve in that country. So and we don't hide any data from our brands. We share everything with them, so you can see exactly what's selling and where. And we think that's really important, as I said, that partnership piece. You need to see that as a brand. But so start to finish, it's 8 weeks. You're live across the world, and depending on where you're at as a brand, as if you're a brand new brand who's never been on Amazon before, the initial period is about finding the brand, finding its feet, getting the rankings up, getting the reviews, building all that stuff with Amazon, and then ultimately driving it forward with various different things that we'll do in-house. But ultimately it's strategizing with you around, for example, it's Prime Day today, and our numbers have gone crazy, but it's about strategizing with you to deliver that Prime Day. What do you want to do with Prime? So we have a team that do all that stuff, and they will get you on those deals. They'll do all the things that you want to do. And we just align with everything that you're doing as a brand. If you're doing a deal there and you want to do it on, we will deliver that for you. So it's a total, it's a tailor-made kind of model that we have. But it is a one-size-fits-all model, whether you are a very small brand or you're a very big brand. It delivers the same thing, no matter what you're looking for. And Amazon has, or every brand has, a different strategy and a different way they want to approach these sort of sales and online sales. I think in the past, Amazon was kind of a dirty word, where people were a bit hesitant towards it and didn't really want to be a part of it. And now it's at the end of the day, it's the biggest platform in the world, and it's something that it doesn't matter if you're a prestige brand, a real luxury brand. You should be on Amazon, because you're missing so many people who are shopping pretty much only on Amazon. And as they grow and get bigger with the supermarket thing they're doing at the moment, and they're doing the Amazon Go thing, I think, in America at the moment, there's so many, it's going to not take over the world, but more or less in terms of retail, it's an important thing to cover. So if you were a brand coming live with us, it's about making sure that you're seeing a return on what you're doing with us, but ultimately to make sure your brand is consistent, make sure it looks great aesthetically, it looks great, that you're delivering what you want to deliver, you're aligned in all the countries you're aligned in with all of the models that you have, with your distribution and so on, and that it's basically there. So you, as a brand, as I said, it's labor intensive. You have the box ticked for Amazon as a brand, but you don't have to do anything. And the best thing about us, and what a lot of brands like about us, is that we're based in the UK. And as I said, we're live in like those 12 to 14 countries. We will put the stock in all of those countries, so the stock is on the ground. So if someone in Australia or Japan wants your product, they order it and they can have it today or tomorrow. And when we order from you, as a company, you will fulfill all of that order to us in the UK, and then my team will pay at our expenses done. They will put it into all those countries at our costs. So it's a really a whole thing's built to be straightforward. Yeah. We don't have any hidden costs. We don't do late fee. We don't do anything like that. We're very straightforward and open to work with, and I think that's been the most appealing thing for a lot of brands who have come through ECRM that we've launched over the past sort of 12 to 18 months. And it's through the past 7 months, it's just been propelled into a mass sort of a rush to get Amazon covered, as brands all over the world need to cover that, because for some of them it's one of the only revenues they can get right now. Yeah. Depending where you are in the world. So I think it's a real it's just been a win-win throughout for a company like ours, but there's other people struggling there, so it's kind of just staying humble with what's happened over the last 7 months, and keep building and keep striving to get back to normal. And I think it's some people like to compare Amazon to retailers. You take any retailer on the high street, in the UK or the US. When we take a brand, if they're not in retailers in the country, Amazon will generally not do as well. Also, retail and being on shop shelves is the best PR that you can get. So the more retailers people get and the more footfall that they get in seeing their products, the better it is for Amazon. And the better it is for us ultimately. So that the retail making a comeback, doing everything, the striving towards opening all countries will help us indefinitely as well. So it's not like we're praying for everywhere to stay shut and just people shopping on Amazon. We want everything to be open, and so we can maximize every brand, and everyone's doing well. Of course we do.
Yep, and it sounds like also the other way around. If I'm a brand right now that's just in the United States or North America, and I'm looking to build my business in Europe and get into European retail, well, starting on Amazon and getting a track record in those countries will give me tools to pitch, to help me better pitch. So if I'm meeting a buyer from a brick and mortar retailer for the first time, I could say, look, I've been selling well on Amazon in your markets already, so the need is there. I should be on your shelf. So are you seeing that happen a lot with brands?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think with you take the US brands, for example, we're working with a lot of US brands now, and pretty much all of them have come through people we've met at ECRM, or the brands we've directly met at ECRM in the past. And I think for them, in America, it's as I said, everyone's got if you're a brand in America, you've got America, Canada, Mexico covered. And when you're looking for European retail, you're absolutely right, where once you start going into those countries, and if you flip it the other way around, when they start going into those retailers, it's so important that you have the Amazon territory covered in those countries too. That's where we're sort of getting a lot of US brands working with us, where we're not doing their US business. We're just launching Europe with them, and they have someone in America. We're doing a lot of that, and we're seeing great results. We're seeing great results from that, and pretty much 90% of the American brands you speak to, probably higher, are in that boat. So it's kind of low hanging fruit, but it's great to be partnered with, because the way Amazon works, they're carrying reviews over from .com anyway. So when we launch a US brand as brand new in Europe, they're automatically gaining all of those reviews in the UK and the rest of Europe. So those people in Europe that are surfing the internet and finding their products, they might see it in a retailer, but they'll come across it on Amazon and go, it must be a great product. It's got 5,000 reviews. Even though those 5,000 reviews are in .com, doesn't really matter. They're still people. So
it's off of each other. They get in Amazon. It helps them get in brick and mortar. When they're in brick and mortar, it helps with the Amazon sales.
100. That's exactly right. And it's really important for brands to understand, and they people get confused all the time where they compare Amazon to retailers, and it's kind of a mistake, because you're either a Amazon shopper or a Prime customer, or you're a bricks and mortar guy or a bricks and mortar girl. Like you do one or the other, more or less. And if you're just you take a sort of a Boots customer, for example, if they're shopping on Boots, they're going to shop on Boots. If they're shopping on Amazon, they're going to shop on Amazon. And we have loads of brands that sell into Boots, one of which is our own brand that we own, right? And whenever they go on 3 for 2s or deals in Boots, the Amazon's figures do not move at all. So it just shows you that there's no correlation between the customers there whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. So now with the whole pandemic, and it's accelerated consumers move to online, right? Like you mentioned when we were talking before, they were doing it anyway, but now it just came faster. I was just talking to one of my colleagues about this, where I think it took like 10 years for a certain percentage of shoppers to embrace online, and then it took another 8 months for it to double, so just because of the pandemic. So since you guys work in the e-commerce world, what have you seen as far as the increase in shopping, and what kind of, how are they shopping differently now? Not just in the volume, but are they looking for different types of products these days over the past few months?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of done not a sort of a 180, but it's through the start of lockdown. We are one thing we never wanted to get involved in was hand sanitizer and that whole thing, because it was risky business. People were, you'll see it all the time in the news. When it first happened, it was hard to get hold of, and people were selling like the little tiny things for like £20 and dollars, whatever. And it's just ridiculous. So Amazon kind of had a one-hit policy where if you were selling it, they just banned everyone and they sold it themselves, and that was it. So for us, with the size of our business and the size of our account and the way Amazon is that it's not worth risking our account to sell some hand sanitizer and benefit off the back of people needing it. But we have loads of, obviously based in the beauty world, we have loads of brands that naturally have hand creams and luxury hand creams and soaps and all different things. And we saw obviously a massive increase and a surge in those sort of products. But it was kind of across the board. Everything was just going nuts, from shaving gel to hair brushes to everything. Honestly, everything. Men's hair product, you name it. It was flying, and that hasn't really changed in 7 months, apart from the hand cream side has slowed down, and I think we do a lot of Christmas gifting, and a lot of those is hand cream gift sets. And if someone bought me a hand cream gift set this year, I'd be annoyed, because it's just like you spent 8 months just dealing with hand cream, and it's everyone. Why would you want a hand cream gift set for Christmas? I don't know, but even they're flying still. So it's just been a complete change. But what I will say is that people are buying in bigger quantity than they used to. You'll see more and more people buying 2s, 4s, 8s, so on, because it just makes monetary sense to do that anyway. So we've seen a lot of that over the last 7 months. But in terms of, is there any specific products? Not really. It's just been a big upsale in everything that's going on. But yeah, you're right with the trend where the past 10 years, 10 years to the 8 months sort of doubling. As I said, it's just about when you can't go out and people are sat at home, people are furloughed, whatever it might be. It makes so much more sense to shop online and shop on Amazon in particular, because you can get it quicker than you can anywhere else. It makes a lot of sense, and it's just pushed a lot of people who wouldn't have done Amazon or wouldn't have shopped online to shop online. And I think once this is all over, you'll see a lot of people go back to the high streets. Of course you will, but you'll see a lot of people shop online. But even those people that go back to the high street, at least they're familiar with online. When they if they can't get their product in a shop, they can turn to online instead of going in 8 different shops, whatever it might be. So there's it's just fast tracked so many things that were already predicted and already going to happen at some point. It's just brought them forward 5-10 years, whatever it may be. So it's been crazy 7 months.
And you guys are primarily beauty and personal care, correct?
It's one of them where, yes, because that's where our business kind of started, and we're in year 9 this year, so it's been 9 years of health and beauty. But with Amazon and the third party platforms such as eBay and so on, we can do anything. As long as it fits our model. And our whole model is we will work with a brand if we can help you as a brand. If you're a brander and you're doing £1 million a year, and you'll speak to me and because you want to do 2 million, right? And I'll look at it and I've done this for a long time. I can pretty much tell you what you're going to do in a year. If you're doing £1 million and I think, right, your listings are great, you're doing everything right, don't change something that's not broken. Stick with what you're doing. There's no need to work with me because we can't help you. We work with brands that we can help. And if I look at a brand and go, wow, you're doing £1 million, but it looks terrible on there, you could be doing so much more, then that's a different conversation. So it's totally down to the brand. So we're very honest in that way, and we'll work with brands that we can really help and push forward, and that want us as a part of their journey. So that's really where we stand. We're not look, come with us, you'll do £10 million on that. It's not the conversation I'll ever have with a brand. Any brand that I've launched from ECRM will tell you that. It's done as a partnership, and we're very much not about throwing numbers around, because when you're launching a brand on Amazon, it's such a big market. You can't forecast what's going on there, particularly this year. So
And then you work when you launch a brand, you're handling, in addition to the distribution, you're handling the marketing, the optimization of their presence, everything.
Everything. So we even have a team of in-house translators who translate for every market. They're translators. Actually, they translate for the UN as well. So they actually will translate. They're all health and beauty translators too. They do L'Oreal's translations. They translate into every single market, and they will sort of tailor make that to fit the product and the market. The UK, we're very nice and not to the point, but in France they're really to the point. So the listings reflect that, and the text and the content reflects that. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, every single thing you can think of in the whole cog of third-party platforms is covered. And it's not just about Amazon, by the way. People talk about Amazon all the time because it is the biggest one. But we have a 5-year plan to launch the 100 biggest third-party platforms. We're launching OnBuy here in the UK at the moment. We're launching Frugo in Europe at the moment. We're launching Walmart in America and Target. We will launch Tmall and stuff in China eventually. So it's when we're taking business, it's not just about taking the Amazon business, it's about taking third-party platforms as a business and dealing with everything. Because when you're talking about numbers, it's about how many people are visiting the sites, and it's Amazon.com gets 2.3 billion visits a month. The Amazon UK gets 433 million visits a month. So you've got those. You can see how big those markets are and how much further down the line America are. But you combine the 100 biggest third-party platforms in the world, you're going for like probably about 20 billion people a month, or 20 billion visits a month. That's not 20 billion people that are viewing your product in particular, but it's 20 billion people that are going through the site and into that store. So you've got a chance at least, and that's a massive tool, and that for brands can really take them to the next level in some cases.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see just how many people visit Amazon in the next 2 days during Prime Day. So
we were doing an order every 15 seconds today.
Wow. Yeah, not surprised. Not surprised.
That's crazy.
So you're there in your new offices. Talk about how COVID has impacted just your business and the way you do things. Obviously, virtual is a big part of it, and we'll get into that a little bit. But just on your day to day and what you're doing.
Yeah, obviously we moved in today, and it's nice to have a full team back, and we started from scratch as a brand new office, and we set that up so it is COVID safe and everyone can be back together. And we're actually only using, we've kind of got this office for growth, and we don't really want to move again for probably a decade. So the whole of the downstairs is completely, it's all set up, but it's completely empty. So nobody's working downstairs, and we have the whole upstairs that is everyone's got 2 meters. I've finally got my own office, which is brilliant. And it's getting everyone back together makes a massive difference in productivity. And it also, when you're launching brands, there is so many with how we work in terms of third-party platforms. There's so many different pieces that there's, if you're talking about one brand, there's probably like 12 people involved, and one person talking to the brand. So that person doing their job from home is a complete nightmare. So that's just one example where our business runs so much better with everybody here. And we've managed over the last 6 months. That's what I would say. We've managed okay over the last 6 months in terms of work and productivity and doing stuff. But we've had a massive change, and the growth forced us to grow our team, and we had to do that during lockdown. So getting people to train in our office for a week and then doing the rest of their training for a month from home on Zoom is like crazy. So everyone being back now, we've got people here today who have been working together for 7 months who've never met. It's not right, in my opinion. It's not right. So doing what we've done today has been a massive leap forward, and obviously coming into here is a big milestone for us as a company. But yeah, it's changed. The world is obviously going to change over from this, and as much as we've benefited from what happened 6-7 months ago. We're still trying to move forward in different ways, but there's other sides to the business as well where we suffered because we own brands as well. So we definitely suffered on that side. And my girlfriend runs those brands, so I felt the pain for the last 7 months
in several different ways. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's from a number side, it's been great for 7 months. It's been great, and the same way, the people, as I was saying, those people that have turned to online and the online shoppers, that's been fast tracked. Our growth has been fast tracked as well. So we're totally ahead of our plan, and the number side isn't really my bag. My bag is the brands and gaining new brands and launching those new brands, and I think without ECRM, I would have struggled this year, and that's not a lie. It's when we were so lucky that Barcelona happened, because that's obviously in health and beauty, that's the biggest one of the year for us, and we managed to launch 50 brands off the back of ECRM in Barcelona, and growing as well. I'm still launching brands in Barcelona, so that's taken me all the way through. Had I not been to Barcelona, when I got locked down in March, I'd have probably got furloughed because I had nothing to do. And you guys made the switch to virtual so quickly and efficiently that it's kept me even busier. And we've launched brands for the last, you asked me about, is it just health and beauty? No, we have the capability to do everything. I've done the pet program this year. I've done the nutrition, supplements. I've done dry food and confectionery, and all of those are completely different. I'm sure, which we'll talk about. But it's just kept us. It's kept me sane as well, and it's been so nice to do stuff virtually. Everyone has their opinions. I love traveling. Don't get me wrong, but when we're testing with new categories, it's really a lot easier, for some of the smaller shows when you're having 15, 20 meetings, as opposed to Barcelona, we did 132 meetings in 4 days. It's so much more sense to do it virtually, because what's the point going for a whole day? You do 6 meetings and then you're just messing around the whole day. So it's so much easier. And to get a taste for like dry food and confectionery, to be honest, I'd probably never have done in person, because it's kind of one of those where it's like, shall we, shan't we? Because it's one of those where we're a bit unsure. And we did it, and we put a lot of focus into it, and we're launching, I think we've got 4 or 5 new brands signed up from ECRM dry food, from the dry food and confectionery, who are launching from December, I believe. And it's been great, and we've met some great people, and we've made some great partnerships through off the back of that. Had it not been virtual, I probably wouldn't have gone. Mm-hmm. So that is, that's a win-win on that side. For the beauty side, I'd love to go back to in person, because we launched a couple, just for example, we launched a couple of brands where we didn't even have meetings with them in Barcelona. We just met them in the evening or whatever, and we got talking. And, you keep in contact. They like the idea. We just didn't get partnered up. That's Rachel's fault. Tell Rachel that. But yeah, and it's just so that can't happen virtually. So that's what you're missing. And then from a partnership side, we go to wherever, Cannes. If we were going to Cannes in February, we'd have seen 30 or 40 brands that we already work with, and we can catch up and talk and whatever. And you kind of lose that, which is a shame on the virtual side. But from an efficiency, and take the nice, the drinking and all that away from it, the efficiency makes so much more sense virtually I think for the small to medium sized shows. But for the big ones, I do strongly think that they should be in person.
Yeah, and that's moving forward. Once the pandemic is done, those are the ones that are going to. We'll have a mix, but yeah, the small, more niche type sessions are going to be virtual. Where the big ones, like the giant one in Barcelona, that one's always going to stay in person, once we can get back to it, because there's so many people, so many brands, so many buyers. And for that networking part of it, it's so important, like you said, that those are the ones where it's key. You have so many people together. So now, have you gone to some of our sessions that were non-Euro sessions as well, the US?
Yeah, I'm in. I'm at the moment. By the way, this is in person still. I'm doing the one that was going to be in Los Angeles, or what do you call it? It's not Los Angeles. It's called something else.
Anaheim.
Anaheim. Sorry, yeah, Anaheim.
Yeah, I forget. I mean, we have so many. I forget which ones, but
Anaheim. I
but
was
it's
doing
great that you
Anaheim.
can find those brands. So you're not only just participating in the Euro sessions, you're participating in our, I guess, US based virtual set. I mean, it's virtual, so it really doesn't matter where it is now. And that's one of the things that we're seeing is that it gives buyers from Europe a lot more opportunity to find these brands from all over the world. And you wouldn't be able to travel to the United States that much if they were in person. But now that everything's virtual, you can kind of go everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the America side is the most exciting for me, because you know, America's, they got the bigger brands. You've got a bigger, in terms of my marketplace.
Yeah.
If you're an American brand who's not on Amazon, what on earth are you doing? But they're the ones with loads of reviews, and they want to do business in Europe. And it's easy for me to launch them in Europe because they already have that store. It's like having, you know, 5,000 whatever retailers on the high street in America,
Yeah.
and not being in the UK in that retailer. That's like low hanging fruit for that buyer.
Yeah.
For me, they're on Amazon in America doing loads of money, millions of dollars. I want their business in Europe, of course.
Yep.
Because it carries, like you said, it carries over. So it's just, that's easy for us. And it makes sense for the brand, and it's effective for them.
Definitely. So talk a little bit about the platform itself. You know, what did you like about it? How was it working? How did you work with our team to kind of get yourself ready, get prepared, and then the tools? You know, talk about the tools.
Yeah. So obviously, I've done a few different ways of doing virtual meetings with different companies, and ECRMs is by far the best. But it's just the part where I understood the first, you know, when lockdown first happened, everyone was sort of trying to do bits from I think even you guys did a Zoom one, right, at the start.
In the beginning, while we were developing our own platform, they were called ESI. So they were more introductions where you're pitching a panel of buyers.
That was it. Yeah, I remember. So from
we're moving that to our platform, by the way, eventually.
Yeah, but going from that to your platform, it was like, so I find Zoom at the start, I try and avoid video. I always pick up the phone, right? So before COVID, so I always pick up the phone. So with this, I'm not that savvy on computers and stuff really. And when this all happened and the Zoom thing came in, and you guys, you know, you have to log in and you do all this thing and you go from meeting to meeting, and I bet some people find it a bit stressful, and it's just a little bit of a pain, and you just want to, exactly how your platform's set up, you just want to sit there, get ready so you can take your notes, your meeting finishes and it goes automatically into your next one. You can't get it wrong. And a bit like when you do it in person, you guys, you know, you're hurrying everyone out, getting everyone in the right place at the right time. It's just doing that in a really efficient way, and it automatically puts you from one place to another, because, you know, some people will have a 20-minute meeting and the brand will decide to do a 20-minute pitch, which is really annoying. So you don't get time to talk. So had you not kick people out and kick them to their next meeting, you'd be there for 50 minutes. So that's really important, and it forces people to you know, have a 10-minute pitch and you have 5 minutes talking either way. And that's really important. But in terms of how it works, I always request samples before the meeting, before the show, which is great, or before the session, which is great because you can see the products, you know what you're getting a feel for what they are. And what you find with a lot of brands, and I found this before I did Barcelona, there was, you know, we had 130 something 132, 135 meetings we did that week. Before we went, we sat down and went, right, let's get an idea of who everybody is. And we're not going to remember everyone over, you know, looking at 130 people before you go, but some of them you really don't get a feel for what their brand is. The website they'll use on their profile will be completely different to what their actual brand is, which are really odd. And you don't get a feel for what they're doing. So some of them, you're best off, you just leave till the meeting. And I go in every meeting, whether it be online on a virtual platform or in person, go in with an absolute blank canvas, because you never know what you're going to meet. And I walked into some meetings in Barcelona where I thought this is going to be rubbish, and we're now working with them doing, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions. So it's, you never know. All right, and that's really important. But in terms of the when you're working on virtually on your platform, the star system is like it makes it so easy for me, because we kind of, and we obviously use the tablets in Barcelona and stuff, and we kind of figured how we would work it out. 1 star is we don't want to work with them, or 2 star is, you know, we might follow them up, and so on. So you can really get a feel, and when you download that from the platform, it saves me writing a load of notes in a notebook like people used to, stapling your business card in a notebook. I mean, what a waste of time. So it makes it so much easier where you can take notes. It automatically takes it from the platform into your profile, and you can download that to a spreadsheet. And everything I do, I download to the spreadsheet, look through it, sort it all out, and contact them from there. And then I just highlight them green when I've contacted them, and I'll make notes from there, and as I follow them up and talk to them at what stage they're at with working with us. So it works really well, and it's kind of faultless, if I'm honest. We haven't had an issue with it at all.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I'm so glad that you're actually using it the way it's supposed to be used. I mean, you know, you're taking the notes, you're assigning the star rankings, you're actually downloading it so that you could. That's what it's there for, and you know, it definitely helps. And I'm glad that it's easy to use, especially since you are more of a phone guy, you know, so it's that's ease of use is really important too.
Yeah, it is, and it has to be user friendly. And I think for a lot, and I'm the same as a lot of people, particularly in health and beauty. A lot of people are very much on the phone, in person, used to doing in person things. Where it is a massive change to doing virtual stuff. And although, you know, I'm talking to you right now, it's very different from being in person. Even still, even though I can see you and hear you, it's weird. But I think, you know, from the engaging side, from the brand side, it's virtual is a great way to get, particularly over the last 7 months where there's been no other options. I think choosing the ECRM route is a great thing for brands, because, like you said, the buyer percentage or the buyer usage on ECRM is up. So as a brand, why wouldn't you do it? You know, if there's more buyers than ever doing ECRM, and that's true, you've seen the stats, why wouldn't you do it as a brand? It's the best time to do it.
Yep.
So yeah, and I agree. I try and use the platforms as well as I can. And I'm doing stuff with categories. You know, health and beauty is a mass. You know, obviously our biggest category, and I'm launching new brands in pet. I'm working with a brand from Los Angeles called Freshport. It's an amazing brand, by the way, and great guys too. Chris in California. We're launching with him, and they do, you know, licensed dog leads and things like that. And it's a great brand, and we're doing the whole world with them, and that's something that I wouldn't have done without the virtual platform. So it's opened up for the small categories for me. I've done things that I wouldn't have done. I've tried things out of my comfort zone, because when you go to I've been in health and beauty for years, and when you go into another, I don't know anybody in the pet industry at all. And the same goes for dry food and so on. So it's a really daunting thing to go and do in person, but not daunting to do on virtual, because you sit there and then when your meeting's over, you're sat at your desk or at home or whatever. Yeah. So on that side, it's really good, really, really good. But for my own category, you know, it's for the big ones, I like the in person, as we said. But yeah, the virtual platform you guys have set up is amazing. We were really lucky, actually, that you you moved at the pace. We're a very fast-paced company as well, and with Amazon and stuff, it changes every day, and our company changes every day. And with COVID, it made us change so quickly. We were so lucky to have a company that works as quickly as you guys worked to deliver what you delivered, so we could benefit from that as well.
But the other component is the people. I mean, we're dealing with dozens, if not hundreds, of different computers and Wi-Fi and all that. So having a team of our client success managers on hand, both to prep everybody and teach you how to use the tools, but also to be there if something happens. Your Wi-Fi goes out, your sound goes off. Boom, we're a click away. We don't just leave you there on your own. We want to make sure we're there for you in case anything happens. And then because inevitably something's going to happen. Somebody's going to lose their sound, or their Wi-Fi is going to have a hiccup, but that's a given. What counts is how soon that can be resolved.
Exactly.
So we make sure that our team is really involved as well. So the people behind it are important.
Yeah, that's really important. And those brands that are paying good money to be there, and if if you really wanted to meet one particular buyer and their internet goes for 20 minutes, it's like that's something that needs to be, they obviously your team needs to be hot on, and it's really important that all gets fixed and any issues resolved. And I've had my fair share of issues over lockdown, particularly when I was at home with the internet, and I don't have an office at home, so it's very it was a big change for me.
Yes. Well, now at least that problem is resolved. You got a nice office. Your Wi-Fi is great. So now when a brand is presenting to you virtually, for you, what makes an ideal virtual presentation? What would you recommend to suppliers who are going to meet with you? What do you want to hear from them? What do you want? How do you want them to present?
I'll be honest. I'll probably do as a buyer. The way obviously we work is very different, and the different categories that I cover, and as we grow, I will stay in health and beauty, and I'm growing the teams in all the other different places like baby and so on. Excuse me. So it's the way that people pitch in health and beauty, or the way that brands are in health and beauty, are very different to the way that they are in dry food and supplements and nutrition and wellness and baby and so on. So it's about trying to engage the buyer as much as possible. What I found, for example, in the supplements or the probiotics and that people have, is that they'll give you an incredibly technical pitch and go into so much scientific depth that you fall asleep. I'm not a scientific person, but I don't imagine many buyers are, otherwise they wouldn't be a buyer. So once you go into that much depth so quickly in a 20-minute call, you switch off near enough immediately. And I'm not sure if you heard that from, and that's the only category I heard that from, where it is so in depth. And it's such a shame, because you just want to hear the English, and want to hear about their brand and their package, and you want to get the fundamentals out of them, and then they're not doing that. So I think it's really important to make sure you've got a pitch there that's going to engage the buyer, and get your point across and get your USPs across, and talk about the countries you're in, and talk about what you want to do and achieve as a brand. And if they're, the way that I'm judging brands, it's not just about how good their brand is, it's about what are the people like who are running that brand, what they like to work with, because the way we are like as a partner for a brand that's really important. Because what I don't want to do is get someone that all they care about is moving loads of volume, and they're not a very nice person, and then I'm bringing that on and I'm putting that onto my team for the next 10 years or whatever. So it's really important, and we're not that kind of company. So the people are just as important as the brand, in my eyes. So I like to get be welcoming and be polite and be nice and be surprised how many people aren't. I think it's if you're a brand, make your pitch. If you're doing 20, if you booked in for 20-minute meeting, make him pitch 10 to 12 minutes. The mistake all brands are making is, right, we've got 20 minutes, let's pitch for 20 minutes. No, don't pitch for 20 minutes, because one, it's boring and you get no time to talk. And I might collate loads of notes, over that 20-minute period and have questions to ask.
Yeah.
And then they cut off and they go, "I see you." And then you're like, "Well, I can't really ask those questions by email because they sound stupid."
Yeah.
So just doesn't make sense. So if you're a brand doing 20 minutes, make your pitch 10 to 12 minutes max. And don't just, what a lot of brands do is just go, "All right, here's a video, here's my deck," and then they just screen share the deck and go, there's this, there's that. How boring is that? Pitch the brand. I say pitch the brand properly, but just be enthusiastic, be engaging. It might just be a deck or a video, but just engage it a bit more, and just don't read through a deck like you're at school. Without sounding like rude, it's just one of those. And I feel quite passionately about that, actually, because I'm booked in for 3 days or something, and you're seeing, well, you have to realize that's not the only brand you're seeing. You're seeing 50, 60 or 80, whatever it is. And you can't sit, as a bar, you can't sit through 80 meetings of just people going, that is like the most dull thing you could do. So the difference, what it makes, is because there is so many people doing that, when you meet a brand who are doing it right and are engaging, the chance of them getting the business or us wanting to work with them and us following up is so much higher. It's untrue. And it makes such a difference.
I agree 100%. I've done a lot of content around that. In fact, limiting your presentation slides, more of you, being engaging. I actually interviewed a Emmy award-winning journalist about how to actually engage people on camera, but the person part, like you said, I personally think that's so important, because you do business with people, not products. So you want to really have a conversation. So have a little pitch, but you don't need to bring a PhD scientist in to talk about every single ingredient. You want to focus on, this is how I'm going to help your business.
Yeah, and I think looking back at some of the best deals and stuff that we've done, and the best brands that we work with, particularly ones we've met from virtual ECRM, is the ones that, and there's one that sticks out in mind. We're literally about to work with a brand called Lifeware Tech, based out in, I think they're based all over the place, but Florida or California. And you get onto those calls and there's 4 or 5 of them, and you switch into the when you log into the call and there's like 4 or 5 people logged in, you're like, Jesus Christ, sort of overwhelmed you, and you sat there on your own. But they're just the nicest guys that you could speak to. And we had it was the first one we did on the supplements and nutrition a few weeks ago, mid-September. And it was the first meeting we had for the week. And it was probably the best meeting because we just had 20 minutes. We didn't even talk about the products, barely. I think the last 2 minutes, we might have got into the products. The first 80 minutes, we were just chatting and learning about each other's business rather than the actual products. Learning about the style of business, how they work. That's really important. And that's not more important than the products, but it's as important as the products. And like you said, you do business with the people and not the products. And that's a really important factor. And when you go into a meeting, if you just go, "Hello, yeah, I'm Taylor. Here's my slides." You sit there and you're just bored. So just talk. That's what it's there for. So that's really important. I think you got it right.
Cool. Well, to wrap it up, where do you see virtual playing a role in the future once the whole pandemic is done? Where do you see it fitting in?
I think it definitely fits well with the niche and the smaller categories, that the smaller sessions that you guys are doing, because I know that for me, whichever category I go to, I'm going to have quite a lot of meetings, because I cover everything we do in the business for new brands and products. So for those buyers that have narrow categories and narrow, smaller areas to cover, it makes so much more sense to do it virtually, because it saves you going all that way for 3 meetings.
And that's something we will be doing. But what about the industry in general? Do you see virtual staying around? I mean, it looks like now that everybody's accepted it, they've seen some efficiencies. I think it's got its place. But where do you see that place being?
I don't know. I think I'm not against it, by the way. From a personal standpoint, I would love to, get a year down the road and things be back to normal the way they were a year ago. If I'm honest,
Yeah.
and that's my honest opinion. Because I like socializing, I like seeing people, and so on and so on, which most people like to do, and you catch up with people, and it's not just about that; it's about the business. You can cover some business areas. You go out for dinner with some of your existing brats, and you can kill 3 or 4 birds with one stone while going to an ERM, which is brilliant. But with the virtual stuff, it's great for new. For me, it's great for new categories. So if it sticks around, it's great for doing new stuff. And that's probably the same for a lot of businesses and a lot of buyers who might think about doing an ECRM category or signing up to go abroad or to go wherever it is. It might take 3 or 4 days, which they don't have, as opposed to taking up one afternoon, for example. Then it makes so much more sense. If the world is looking to go for more productivity and efficiency, then virtual will definitely stick around, and it will, because you hear it all the time. Particularly with there's things like banks and stuff like that, where they're going to stick to people working remotely, and they're getting rid of all their offices and all that sort of thing, which we don't agree with. And we discussed that, where we think, for our business, it makes more sense for people to be in. We're a lot more productive, a lot more effective, and for my job personally, and Barry as well, we are more effective when we are at ECRM in person, but we are getting a lot done through virtual too. So it's kind of a win-win. But overall, I think that virtual will definitely stick around, as people are looking for. The world's getting more. I say it's becoming a quicker world, a more efficient world. People don't want to move around. I don't have a young family, for example, so I'm happy to travel here, there, and everywhere. Those people that don't, it makes their lives so much easier. And so much more straightforward to just jump on virtual and do what they need to do. But that's kind of where I see it. So I think it will stay, and I think there is a real place for it. But it just changes. I think it will change my outlook on my role if I didn't get to travel. It's a massive part of what I do, and I enjoy it so much. So everyone's different though. Some people will hate traveling, so it's just, and you're like me, you love traveling. And you also know probably some of your ECRM guys who don't particularly like traveling, who have to travel, and they put up with it. So for those people, they'll be like, win, I could do my job to the max and not have to go anywhere. Brilliant. So it's kind of depends on which person you are, and if you guys decided, for example, you didn't want to do anything in person, then there's nothing I could do to stop that. I would still attend the Cannes, virtual like I am in February. I can't go. So, but I think, it's good, and you're probably the same as a company. As much as you guys work remotely anyway, and do a lot of Zoom in Teams and things like that, it must be nice for you guys when you get to Barcelona or Cannes, where you all see each other, and it's brilliant, and that's good for.
In fact, that's the way we do it, because most of the staff has been remote anyway, even before COVID. The reason why it works is because we do get to meet in person regularly at our sessions. So it's definitely going to be a part. In person is not going to go away for us either. I love it like you. So we're just going to adapt and mix it in however it makes sense. So, so Taylor, thank you so much for joining. And I really do hope that we can get together in person again sometime soon. But otherwise, I'll be seeing you virtually at our sessions.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I will see you very soon. But
definitely. Stay safe.
Cheers, mate. You too.